welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Leyton. The Federal Aviation Administration is changing the way its air traffic controllers direct flights, switching from the old radar to the newer GPS. With us now is Todd Spitzer, Supervisor, to tell us about that and some of the problems that it's causing for some of the local neighborhoods, especially under the flight path of John Wayne Airport. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, look, airports in Orange County have been controversial for decades, right? We had the whole El Toro, what was going to happen. There was a fight between North County and South County, and I was all part of that over the last 2 decades. And I don't want to see that fight again, and I don't want to see our counties split apart. So I'm trying to bring everybody together to look at what they're calling the Metroplex Plan, which is 21 airports in the Southern California region, led by the FAA, to really switch over from ground control to a GPS, which we're all familiar with on our phones.
It sounds like a great idea. They sell it as being safer, more fuel efficient, and more environmentally friendly. So what's the problem? If it's new technology and more concise, where are you seeing the problem?
Because really the communities, especially Newport Beach, on the departure corridor, Costa Mesa, and then of course Tustin and part of my district that backs up to the arrival corridor, they're seeing a lot more noise because the pilots can use this GPS and they can now fly quote unquote more safely. But as a result, they can cut corners and they can take shortcuts, if you will. And now communities that never heard these planes because they used to be higher over those communities on departure, like Laguna Beach, Laguna Niguel, San Juan Capistrano, when the planes went out over the ocean, they had to climb at a great rate. And then they'd come back over those communities and head towards the east or the southwest. Now they're much lower because the planes are flying more safely, and the pilot doesn't have to ascend at such a great rate, which saves fuel and saves time.
How does this fit into the lawsuits that have been ongoing between the city of Newport Beach, with the county, with the air traffic controllers for the noise abatements over the years? There was some agreement that the noise levels would be low and that things would be under control.
We reached a settlement agreement in 1985, and we've just renewed the settlement agreement. And so there have been promises made to Newport Beach in particular, who sued, that there would be a curfew and that there would be an ascent that would help diminish the noise, and also that the flights would follow the Newport Bay, right? Stay over the water as opposed to homes and communities. And so we want to make sure that those commitments are abided by the FAA, the airline pilots, and the airlines.
Now this is certainly trackable because you can see, because GPS is precise, you can see the takeoff and landing of every flight that goes into John Wayne Airport.
We know exactly where these planes are, and that's why the airport's consultant, hired by the Board of Supervisors, analyzed the FAA's environmental impact document, its legal document, and it concluded that it was inadequate. The FAA is saying that this new plan will have no substantial environmental impact. Our own experts are saying that's absolutely inaccurate. And so the county, Newport Beach, and Laguna Beach are currently suing in federal district court in Washington, D.C., with a lot of other jurisdictions to say that we need to have an environmental impact report that actually is fair.
Okay, so you're saying the environmental impact report wasn't done right.
Correct.
On those grounds, what do you want to come of it?
I want a do-over. We need a mulligan. And what we need to do is we need to take our time to look at this system that the FAA wants to implement. I think we all want safety, but we want predictability, and we want these communities that have expectations of what noise and pollution will come under them certainly needs to be adhered to. And we have to make sure that the settlement agreement is lockstep and is not violated.
You talked about Laguna Beach suing. Was Laguna Beach involved in any of the earlier lawsuits and just now involved because now Laguna Beach is experiencing what they perceive as higher noise levels and more flights over their area?
Laguna Beach obviously was part of the coalition that didn't want El Toro to become an airport because that would have severely impacted.
But we're talking about John Wayne.
Right.
Yeah.
So in terms of in the past, no, not from a litigation point of view. It's really been all led by Newport Beach. But now that the pilots are cutting the corner earlier, leaving John Wayne Airport, and they're climbing up, but at a lower elevation over Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach, San Juan Capistrano. Those communities are getting hammered by noise, and we're getting thousands of complaints from homeowners that they're experiencing noise that they never did before.
So what are you hearing from homeowners? Just higher noise levels?
We have people in San Juan Capistrano that at 7:05, when that first flight is now coming out of John Wayne Airport because of the curfew, first flight at 7 a.m., they're being awakened in the morning, never heard planes before. There's communities that are being impacted by this because the pilots are taking shortcuts and they're not as high as they used to be. And so, of course, the noise is much more felt.
So this is up to the pilot's discretion once it takes off. And
the pilots have a lot of discretion. They have to get permission from air traffic control. But when air traffic control is using GPS and the pilot is using GPS, they're saying we can do this safely. But they're obviously at much lower elevation levels, and they're over communities that never flew before at that elevation level.
Where does this go from here? This sounds like a long, lengthy legal procedure.
It always
and
is
discussion.
lengthy. These are always lengthy. And so we're joining with other jurisdictions in federal district court. The venue is Washington, D.C., because that's where the FAA is. And so we're going to get a trial date and a briefing date. And we're hoping to stop the EIR, unwind it, and have the FAA do it right. I think we can reach a community consensus. I just think we have to have the predictability in the flight paths that Orange County deserves.
So if you get the EIR thrown out and you have a new one to work with so that you can move forward in your efforts, what do you want to come of it? What do you
I
want
want the
to
predictability of the flight paths of the way we've been operating, because communities understand that. And the communities that have noise, there's no way if you live in the Back Bay of Newport Beach, right under John Wayne Airport, that you're not going to have noise. So there's certain expectations, but the ascent, everybody who's ever flown out of John Wayne knows you go out like a rocket ship. That's because we're protecting that community to the best of our ability. And we have to continue to fulfill those expectations. We have to protect the settlement agreement and protect those communities from pollution and noise. I want to keep the status quo and still utilize the safety of the GPS systems. Has
this upgraded system from radar to GPS, has this been challenged in any other communities across the country?
All over the country.
But is it being challenged as well there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's other jurisdictions. That's why we're all going to join together in Washington. We might have some different legal arguments based on geography, but the crux of it is communities who have never experienced noise and pollution are experiencing that because of the fact of the GPS technology.
Now, what else changes? Nothing changes as far as the number of flights they're taking off. We know that John Wayne is one of the busiest airports in the country.
One of the 50th busiest in the country, and there's 126 departures a day. We have, today, 10 million annual passengers going out of John Wayne Airport. So it's a vibrant, busy airport, critically important to our economy. But this community has come to coexist with an airport. Many communities don't coexist with airports, but I believe at the end of the day, we can negotiate with the FAA to implement the safety regulations that they want, and we all want, but not impact our communities to the detriment of quality of life.
It sounds like what you're asking for is let's use the new technology, but let's keep the old flight paths and just stick to what we agreed to in the past.
That's what I want, but the pressure is going to come by the Pilots Association that want to save time, and we have the airlines who want to save money. When you bring those two very powerful special interests together in Washington, D.C., they have a lot of influence and sway. They want to save time and save money. Who doesn't? But at the same time, it's not fair to the communities.
If the people in the communities want to voice their opinion, their concerns, who do they talk to? Where do they go?
So I'm going around the community and speaking. We have a sample letter. You can call my office at 714-834-3330. You can email my office. I'm easy to find on the web. And we have a sample letter to send to the FAA and attend the town hall. I'm speaking all over the county. Invite me to come. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I want to show the communities. This isn't just Newport Beach, Anaheim Hills. A lot of your viewer area is going to be impacted.
All right, Supervisor
All right,
Todd Spitzer, nice to talk to you. Glad you could join us as well. I'm Leslie Leyton.